Tonight my presentation will be an extremely brief summary of my crazy eclectic musical life. I'd like to start with my mother. She's here tonight, the 1949 Alden football homecoming queen, Patricia Belden. She's looking very pretty in this picture. I came along 5 years later, already sporting the now trademark hat. My name was originally Randall Presnell. My mother remarried in 1957, a great guy named Tom Key, and my name was changed to Randall Key. Fast forward 21 years later, here I am in an early Frank Niemeyer picture at the State Fair, 1975. Long-haired banjo-picking country boy playing with Corey Call. I was a full-time instructor at the original acoustic stringed instruments shop owned by Brent Pierce and Mike Sanders. This is an important picture. This is Joe Stuckey, the brother of local dentist Jay Stuckey. We took a trip to visit my grandmother in eastern Tennessee. I fell in love with the area and wound up living at Middlesboro at the Cumberland Gap, running a music store in Harlan, Kentucky, tuning pianos and teaching lessons. Until I met an Army recruiter. I'd always wanted to visit Europe, and so here I am, Private Key, 394th Transportation Battalion, Nelligan Barracks at Stuttgart, MOS 67 Yankee, which is attack helicopter repairer, working on the Mod S Cobra helicopter gunship. A couple of years later, here I am, Sergeant Key, the guy with the flashlight on the belt, exhibiting poor muzzle discipline. This was an aggressor force. We got to harass people with artillery simulators and tear gas, the ones that were bivouacked out in the forest outside of Patch Barracks. This is John Pipes. He worked as an American civilian at the Recreation Center, and he introduced me to a couple of fellow soldiers, and we formed a little bluegrass trio called Uncle Sam's Good Time Band. He had a theater background, and he taught us how to go out and play street music and actually hustle people and make money doing it. And so we traveled around doing that. This was our first trip to Paris. And, you know, this is such a brief summary. I've got a lot of good stories about Paris, obviously. Ask me about Madame Blanc. That's an okay story. That's nothing bad about that. But we had a lot of fun. This is the first meeting of the legendary bluegrass group Hot Grass. The guy in the brown hat in the back is a fellow American. We were playing at an open mic in a club in Stuttgart. The two guys in the front saw us playing, wanted me to play banjo in their new bluegrass group that they wanted to form, and this is the very first time we ever got together. I stuck around with those guys for about 4 years. We are regarded as one of the best and most innovative bluegrass groups to ever come out of Germany. Our music is still played on the radio out of Tübingen. On Friday afternoons, I listen to it on my computer because they stream it on the World Wide Web. I got a European out, which means I had a job and a work permit and a residency permit, and I could speak German. I was discharged honorably from the Army, and I got to stay in Germany. The caption says, Key wears sandals to disguise himself as a German. That was an article written in a military newspaper. When I came back to Kansas, I became a fireman, and that's where the Avenue A Park stands now. That was the Isham's fire. That was a gigantic, huge, scary fire. I don't know what I was thinking, but there I was on the first truck that rolled up, and I got out of that line of work in 1998 and went back to teaching full-time. This is my daughter, Sarah. She's the health educator for the Reno County Health Department, and my son is Matthew. He is a robot welder with KMW. They are great people, very successful, and I love them dearly. This is Tommy Sue, the love of my life. I've been with her the last 10 years. She's a very interesting person. She was one of the first and only full-time female tattoo artists to be working in the United States, and she's worked all across the states in different shops. Her life would make a really good book, Bill Sheldon. I've played in a million groups. This is Kilgore Trout from 1986, Wayne Avery in front with the beard, guitar player, Jim Kiefer of Kiefer Madness in the middle there looking like Paul McCartney, the great Charlie Moyers on sax and John Grant. We played a lot of gigs and as a really good band. Here I'm surrounded by students at the Bluebird Bookstore playing with the Bluebird Project, which is Owen Green, Walker Johnson, and myself. We had a good run. We are joined by Tyler Sheldon, who's a fine player, and of course the King, Steve Gelvin, sitting there watching us. This is my current group, primarily a jazz quartet called Drum Sax Sax. We play every Friday at Cool Beans. David Keller on the bass, Ralph Brown on the sax, Eddie the Breeze Carell on the drums. These guys are really good musicians, and it's very challenging and very enjoyable to play with them. I have always taught lessons, and I will continue to teach lessons. This is my most sophisticated, debonair, and photogenic student, Zach Bryan. And I'm showing him the finer points of a C major 7 chord. It's a lot of fun. I've taught thousands of people. This year I've been honored to be able to be a student of this great Macedonian virtuoso, Dejan Pejchanowski. I take my lessons over Skype, and I'm proud to say that with his help, his instruction, and me adhering to a strict practice routine, I have gotten better this year. If a well-worn guitar that I've played for the last 41 years would tell the story of my life, wouldn't the case that that guitar was carried in tell that story much better? Thank God guitar cases can't talk.